Right. Okay. I think we can start. Welcome everyone, and hello to everyone that will see the recording as well from our presentation. Today, we have a couple of things to share with you. Our experiences at CRISP and our experiences with different careers. Um, People tend to think that career development means moving upwards, getting promotions, more responsibilities, etc. But sometimes it actually just means moving to a different department or taking up a project that will stretch you and help you use your transferable skills. So it's not necessarily always about moving up. Just to let you know a little bit about CRISP, we've been established for almost 15 years now. We are a company that protects users, global companies, enterprises from threats online. Our mission is basically to make sure that we make the online world a safer place. That means making sure that users are not exposed to any illegal, any threatening content. That does include kids as well, which is kind of at the heart and soul of what we've done for the last 15 years. And we've developed this solution to then help enterprises with protecting their brands, protecting their values, and making sure that the hard-earned name is protected online. So we are truly doing tech for good. We've been a growing company for the last 2 years. We've grown by about 50%. Obviously, the numbers as they're getting higher, it's getting harder and harder to grow by 50%. But we've continued to do that even during lockdown. So we've been one of those fortunate companies that didn't have to stop necessarily recruiting and growing our company. We are a truly diverse workforce as well. Just in head office alone, we speak around 40 different languages. It's particularly important because crisis doesn't always happen in English. So it's very important to make sure that we've got that language cover as well. Apart from that, our group of people, CRISP people, are insanely passionate and driven about what we do. I mean, who wouldn't be? We are protecting people online. We are protecting kids online as well. And hopefully, you'll see from our panelists as well that this passion and drive is contagious. So we've got three great panelists today. We've got Sophie Fenwick, our head of output, Renata Mishka, business analyst, and then Ben Green, our software developer. Those guys had different careers, different paths to starting at CRISP as well. So they'll be able to share their experiences with you as we go along. And then at the end, what I'll do as well, I'll go through a couple of tips around CV writing and transferable skills as well to get you into the tech world. So I'll hand over to Sophie.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm the head of output at CRISP, and I've been with the company for almost 3 years now, 3 years in November. My current role is fairly new and fairly unique to CRISP. I've only been doing it for a couple of months now, but it's centered around a gap that was identified in the business for being able to kind of understand what outputs our customers need from CRISP and how best to convey that information to them. So we're constantly sending a lot of valuable information to our customers via real-time email alerts, reports, online dashboards, business reviews, supporting documentation. There's a lot of things we need to send to our customers, and it's about making sure we're helping them solve their challenges with kind of what, where, when, how we send that information over to them. A bit about me. I live in Leeds City Centre, but after nearly 7 months of lockdown and being in the city, I'm pretty much ready to move out. And favourite things include travelling and food, and you'll see that kind of coming across with some of my career choices in the next couple of slides. So just a bit about my kind of winding career path. 2008, went to university in Leeds. I did English literature and language, basically because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I picked something that I'd enjoyed and kind of done well at during school, and figured that kind of by the end of the 3 years, I'd got a better idea of what I wanted to do for my career and how I was going to be able to get there. after those 3 years of working at the university, I still didn't really know what I kind of wanted to do for my career. I moved back to my hometown, which is a small town in Lincolnshire, which has kind of very few job opportunities, particularly with the recession kind of ending sort of 2008, 2009. It wasn't the best time to graduate. So I kind of decided that the best way to get work experience was going to be through kind of volunteering for some work experience. So I did some experience at a financial management agency, and also decided at that point that actually I wanted to go traveling. So I booked a trip to Thailand for about a month or so in the future, and decided, okay, I've got a month that I need to fill. I'll do some more work experience. So kind of wrote around to every digital agency in the Lincolnshire area, like, please can you take me on for some work experience? Got a offer from a great agency called Energy Cell, where I worked for those 4 weeks, just helping out, and was lucky enough to be offered a full-time position for when I returned from traveling as an account manager. So I went to Thailand, came back, spent the next 4 years working at that digital agency in Lincoln. Because it was a small agency with a lot of large clients, you have to wear a lot of hats in these smaller agencies. So I was doing copywriting, graphic design, a bit of coding, user experience design, obviously account management. So I got to try on a lot of different kind of roles while I was working there. I really got to kind of pitch in and get to know how to best service clients for all of these projects that they had for us. Wasn't quite satisfied with the amount of traveling that I'd done. So after that, I decided to go traveling again. I can't remember all of those flags off the top of my head, but kind of made my way across Asia to Australia. So via Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, South Korea, eventually landing in Perth and eventually ending up in Sydney, where I got another job with a working holiday visa at a digital agency in Sydney as a digital producer. So very similar to the role I was doing in Lincoln, except without the print marketing aspect, just purely focused on websites, email campaigns, like the digital technical side of things, because that's mainly where I felt I was better anyway compared to the print side. Worked there for a while, and then with kind of working holiday visas and all the rest of it, and family kind of commitments, decided actually I wanted to come back to the UK to carry on my career. So kind of travelled my way back across with some more flags that I can't remember, and then ended up back in the UK. When I got back, I was kind of unsure about what I wanted to do next. I was looking all over the UK for a role, kind of Manchester, Bristol, Leeds, Newcastle, but eventually kind of got handed a job spec from a recruitment agent for a company called Crisp Thinking in Leeds, and it was very unlike any of the other jobs that I was going for. They were all very similar to my previous background, smaller digital agencies working on digital marketing projects. And I just found the role quite interesting, particularly around the work that they were doing with protecting people online. And kind of the rest is history. I took the interview, took the role, and you can see there that I've also spent quite a bit of time traveling with the role to places like Paris, Milan, Switzerland, Canada, New York. So I've managed to maintain my career and carry on with a bit of traveling at the same time, which works well for me. But every kind of step in my career has had the same core interests and transferable skills. And I think that's one thing that I've really realized as I've kind of progressed across my career path, that I'm happiest and feel like I'm doing my best work for both myself and the company when my role encompasses these interests and skills. So things like, centered around technology, but problem solving, creative thinking, customer experience, presenting insights, presentation in general, attention to detail, collaboration, kind of all of these things are like the core things that I find really interesting, and that I need to be in my role to make sure that kind of I'm adding the most value for myself, which is good. And I think since I've been at Crisp, I've already had 5 different roles over the last 3 years. So I started out as an account manager working for our luxury fashion brands. So a lot of time in Paris, Milan, working closely with those those types of clients, particularly around fashion weeks where they have a lot of issues where we can really support them. Moved up to technical account manager. So that was working more predominantly with our gaming clients, platform clients, so children's brands, children's games, making sure that the children were protected on the internet, which was something that I was quite passionate about and was quite keen to move into that role. Following that, I moved over to our newly formed consultants team, which was, instead of kind of maintaining the accounts day to day, it was taking a step back and understanding the client's requirements so that we could make recommendations about how Crisp could best work with that client, how to provide the best solution to support their needs. Following that, I took on an acting role as heading up that team. So several months was making sure that all of our consultancy requests were being fulfilled, kind of improving the day-to-day working of that team. And then moved across to the head of output, or newly created head of output role, where still doing a bit of consultancy on the side, but main focus is on the different outputs that we send over to our customers and making sure that those are fit for purpose. And then in terms of kind of what's next, the career frameworks that we have in place at Crisp encourage development. So we're always striving to make sure that we're looking at, okay, well, where's our careers going to take us next? That encompasses ongoing professional training, so making sure that we're gaining skills, the breadth and depth of skills that we need to be able to do those jobs effectively. But it's not all about kind of focus on professional training. There's a focus on personal development, so making sure kind of you're more rounded as a person with the right, the skills and hobbies that you've got are all kind of relevant, making sure that you're not just a robot focused on work, that you are developing and that you're happy as a person, both kind of in your role. And in terms of what's next in terms of job roles, my current role was invented because there was a gap that needed to be filled, and there's new jobs emerging as both the company and technology grows and evolves. Social media is changing all the time. We need to be able to keep on top of those changes, make sure that we're adapting and keeping up with the market. So it's highly likely that the job that I'm going to have next doesn't exist yet, and I find that quite exciting and one of the best things about working in tech. And I think that's probably all there is to say about me.
Thanks, Sophie. That was brilliant. So next we've got Renata.
Hi, everyone. I'm Renata. I'm a business analyst at Crisp. My main interests are horse riding, hiking, healthy food, and fitness. I'm a very outdoor person. I've been brought up in a village surrounded by mountains and countryside. So I've spent most of my childhood exploring the woods and riding my bike with friends. And those were fun times. I think all of us have childhood dreams, and today I would like to share with you who I wanted to be when I was growing up. I always dreamt of being a ballerina, and I was dancing for most of my life. However, it never was my professional path. When we think about the ways to tech industry, we usually have in mind studies like computer science, data science, math, or physics. But there are other ways, and I would like to tell you my story. I've been studying marketing communications as my master's degree. I've always been passionate about customer psychology and how businesses can benefit from understanding customer needs. I've learned a great deal about customer behavior and the importance of market research in business. When I was when I was deciding on the research for my master's degree, I've been given very useful advice from my tutor. He said to choose a subject I'm really passionate about, otherwise I will not enjoy my studies because it takes a long time to finish a dissertation and at some point it would become tedious. Taking his advice into consideration and the fact that I've spent my childhood in a theater as a classical dancer, the decision was to conduct my research about the marketing in a theater organization. And that's why I think childhood dreams shape who we are and what we do. I must say, writing my dissertation has been a great journey. starting from writing a literature review, conducting a questionnaire and interviews, to analyzing data and turning it into something meaningful, something that actually the theaters can take away and learn from when working on marketing strategies. The theater manager I conducted an interview with was impressed about the work I've done and felt it was very useful. And that's where my passion for data started. I've realized that I can help someone by providing insights and intelligence. Even though my direction was not clear yet, I've found a passion, and that was the first step to become a data analyst. After I've left university with a distinction, I found my first job very quickly, just after 3 months. Even though my first job was with a small company, I've learned a lot about different functions within the business. I had like a real hands-on experience of how data can help people and communities. The business was working within the public sector to supply engagement events, satisfaction measurements, and impact reports, as well as with the retail, construction sector, and children's services. Then, after over 3 years, even though I loved my job a lot, I decided that I need to progress in my career and learn new things. I was interested in innovative tools to analyze and visualize data, and that wasn't available for me in the small company I've started at. So I've moved to a much bigger company that was selling car valuations. I've learned about SQL, Power BI, and Tableau for the first time. I really enjoyed it. I have learned a lot of new skills, and I grew as a person. Just after a year and a half with the business, I got promoted to retail editor, and I took on more senior responsibilities. But the time came, I realized that company like Crisp existed, and I was ready for my next step. And Crisp has everything I was looking for in my next job. So I thought, count me in, and here I am. Currently, I'm looking after the company's KPIs, working with the senior management level in the organization. Because I work across different departments, I get to speak to many different people in the business, and I really like that. There's a huge variety of tasks I complete. If we move to transferable skills, I think once you are on your path, you can use skills that you have gained somewhere else. Ballet, for instance, taught me that you have to be determined and dedicated to achieve success. Because ballet is all about perfection, self-discipline, and hard work. You must be ready for failures, but the most important thing is how you overcome it. Are you gonna give up, or get up and try it again and again? Even if we fail sometimes, we learn by making mistakes. And in ballet, as well as coding, practice makes it perfect. If we do not get up and try it again, we won't succeed. I wasn't educated in programming. I've gained all the skills and knowledge from work experience, and I constantly learn. Embracing change is really important skill in tech. Here at Crisp, no 2 days are the same. We are always changing the way we do things, and everyone is constantly learning and improving themselves. When I was a kid, I changed my school quite often. At the time, I really didn't appreciate it because I was taken out of my comfort zone. But nowadays, I think these events helped me to become a more confident person in building relationships with new people, as well as motivating myself to improve and learn. I hope you found it useful. That's me. Thank you.
Thanks, Renata. It was great. Thank you very much. So next up, we've got Ben.
Hi there. So yeah, I'm a software developer at Crisp. I've just been here for just 1 year, and I'm self-taught. So I didn't do computer science or anything at university. I didn't do any graduate schemes. I just essentially taught myself off free resources, and here I am. So that's my basic story. In more detail, I did physics at university basically because I didn't know what else to do. Seems to be like a common bit of a common story about university, that. But you know, I'm glad I did it, but I didn't really get stuck into it. But I managed to do it, managed to scrape a 2-1, came out of the other side, and I was like, right, what do I do now? And so I started applying to jobs, but really I had no conviction for any of them. So I didn't get any of them, but it's kind of like I shouldn't have got any of them because whatever I wrote on my cover letter, it probably wasn't very true. Basically, it was, you know. So then I ended up kind of traveling around a bit. My girlfriend at the time did a bit of university in France and a bit of university in Australia. So I went to France for 3 months, went to Australia for a year. You know, a bit of traveling. But still, never really had a proper job, just like bits and bats of work. And then came back to the UK and started tutoring maths basically through a friend. But yeah, still didn't really know what to do. But I thought, okay, what's that? If I could take your students and get £15 an hour, then I'll take that. And eventually, I got recommended to start coding through one of my students' parents. So I started learning that a bit. It's like, okay, you know, this is all right. This quite like it, and it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't an immediate start, but I liked it more than I thought I would at the start, and I was, you know, quite good at it. And so I spent about a year, maybe just little bits of learning, kind of in and out, and then after a year, I thought, right, okay, I can do this. I'm okay at this. I'm gonna make a push for it. So I essentially worked not 9 to 5, but I got up earlier than I was doing before, and made day plans. You know, Still though, through I think I paid for one course. I think I paid something like 20 quid for a 20-hour course. But other than that, just, you know, free YouTube stuff. Joined a group on Facebook where people talked about learning to code, and yeah, made two over that course that year. Made kind of 2 concrete, really kind of personal, quite big bits of amateur software, basically. And after all that, I kept telling my parents, you know, honestly, I've got this sorted. And they're like, you know, you're 27, Ben. You never had a job. You're living at home. What are you doing with your life? And I was like, honestly, I'm doing this coding thing. It's going to be all right. And then yeah, I just sent out my CV to every single recruitment consultant I could find. Made a portfolio. And yeah, eventually I had got 2 interviews. The first one I didn't get. The second one was with Crisp, and I was like, okay, this is better than the first place. So I like the look at this. It felt like a good place immediately. It felt like high levels of brainwaves flying around the room. Basically, that's just like a lot of smart people in a room do it, trying really hard. And I thought, this is good. This is where I need to be. And then yeah, I got the job basically, and. So yeah, I think I was one of the least experienced software developers they've hired, and I found it really difficult at the start because it was my first 9 to 5 job and my first software job, all these things, and it was like a bit overwhelming. But I managed, got through it. Been here 14 months now. You know, got myself a nice little promotion. I enjoy my job. I work with smart, driven people every day, solving difficult problems, doing a bit of good. It's yeah, I'm pretty happy, really. Pretty happy with how it's all turned out. So and yeah, it's like, I suppose just all these years they weren't wasted. Because I think I was never doing nothing. You know, if I'd have been sat on my bum playing FIFA or whatever, then it would have been wasted. But I was pushing myself. I was, you know, trying, living life. And I think just basically anything you do can help you in the workplace. You know, being more honest, being brave, all these things just really easily transfer to the workplace. And I think I almost bring a kind of a different view on work than people who have been doing it for people who kind of, you know, went straight into the corporate world at 21. I think I bring a bit of a second perspective on things. And yeah, and also I have learned like loads since I've got here. You know, I learned a lot in the year before I got here, but like this is like the ultimate universe experience, and you get paid for it. So yeah, that's me basically. That's
Awesome.
my life.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that. I really appreciate it, and hopefully everyone that's listening in will appreciate it as well. So obviously we had a mixture of different career paths throughout obviously the panel. We do have more stories like similar to Ben or Sophie or Renata, where, you know, we have applicants, for example, that learn how to code in a particular language just specifically for a test and absolutely smash it. So it doesn't have to be that you know, like all those guys said, you have to know what you want to do. In instance, if you find something that, you know, you think that looks great, might be something that I'll enjoy, just do it, because you never know what's going to happen. So just to let you kind of go through a little bit really quickly through some tips on how to make you stand out in the tech world when you're applying for jobs. And again, throughout what the panelists were saying, it's not necessarily just about gaining career and work experience. If you think about your CV, for example, this is the first impression of yourself. So people obviously won't necessarily meet you face to face when you're applying for jobs. So no pressure, obviously, on keeping the CV nice and tidy. But things like cover letters, even though people think it might be a thing of the past, if you don't have necessarily the transferable skills or skills that would match potentially, you know, very clearly the job description, cover letter will help you explain why you write for the job. And again, it will take the reader for a journey as to why you think the skills that you might gain in life, not necessarily at work, will be suitable for that job. Set up some objectives as well. Make sure that the reader knows what you want to do, particularly in why this job, for example, and make sure that you've got goals. Spotlight on key skills. Again, take the reader for a journey. Make sure that they've put all their attention on things that you want them to pay attention to. Things like putting your latest experience first, again, sounds obvious, but unfortunately, even though there's loads of templates out there, people still make a mistake, or, you know, tend to put their latest experience at the very end of the CV, which makes it a little bit difficult to follow. Break it down. So unfortunately, sending a 2-liner CV or a summary through a recruitment system won't get you the job. You know, you need to put some work in it. Make sure that if you can't remember the skills that were listed on a JD, just read through it and match your experience to it. Consider adding volunteering and other experiences. Like we said throughout the panel, every little transferable skill counts, and things like volunteering and experience and other experience, it takes determination. It takes a lot of hard work as well, especially if you think about volunteering. So these are the things that will definitely help you and be beneficial when you put on your CV. Make it stand out. Make sure that, you know, it's nice and tidy. Make sure that it's not longer than 2 pages as well, because unfortunately it becomes quite difficult to read a CV that's longer than 2 pages. There's nothing wrong with using templates. like I said, just make sure that you change stuff on it, because unfortunately, sometimes we get CVs and it still says, here you need to put your name and here you need to put your contact details. And it just shows a bit of attention to detail, a lack of attention to detail. And, you know, if you think about mistakes on CVs as well, spelling, etc., just double, triple check, get someone else to read your CV as well and see if it makes sense, see if it's, you know, engaging enough. As I mentioned before, make sure that there are technical summaries on your CV to guide the reader through for what you want them to read. Use standard words like succeeded, achieved, promoted, analyzed, etc. As well as you know, volunteering experience. Things like hobbies and interests are super important. It's quite nice to read what people are interested in, because again, they tell us quite a lot about you as a person. Sometimes probably more than your job experience and your career path as well. Remember to put your up-to-date details, contact details, including social media as well. There's nothing worse when we find a great CV and we think, great, let's give them a call, arrange an interview, and we call the number and it's out of reach or it doesn't exist anymore. So again, if you want the job, make sure that people can actually contact you. Cover any gaps in employment and in studies, again, to make sure that the reader knows what you've been doing, and during the interview, you know, things like that are already covered. We actually read all CVs at CRISP, so when people are applying for jobs, we go through them. We don't let our ATS system go through them automatically and send any kind of computer-generated rejections. We want to make sure that if people are putting effort into writing CVs, cover letters, etc., we give them all the attention that they need as well. Obviously, we've talked a lot about transferable skills, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but you know, the theme throughout the whole seminar is about those skills. It's about things that you've learned during your life where you don't actually think that it's going to be useful anywhere else, but you know, you build your confidence. If you think even about tech skills, when you're at the university, you're using different programs, you're using different applications to help you out during the studies, to help you out with the dissertation. Things like that, again, are very, very important to keep in mind. The same with teamwork, the same with leadership experience. For example, you're leading one of the projects during university days. So think about you know, the non-obvious things and skills that you may potentially use in your working life. Some advice in regards to STEM jobs, which is standing for science, technology, engineering, and math. You don't necessarily have to come from STEM subjects to then get a job in tech world. And again, our panelists hopefully, you know, are testimony to that as well. You can experiment with your career. The fact that you move from one team to another and you end up not really knowing what to do because you're learning, that doesn't mean it's a step back. It just means that you're learning new skills and you're learning new experiences as well. Make sure that you ask questions and be curious. There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking questions. And, you know, when people say, oh, there might be a silly question, no question is silly. And it's basically, again, it's your way to learn new things. Find a mentor or ask for advice. There are people out there that obviously have gone through probably what you might be going through at the moment. They might help you, they might guide you. You know, you're never alone with making decisions about your next steps as well. Make sure that you adapt, make sure that you've got a training plan, anything that will add to your personal development during the career as well. So it's not necessarily always about learning skills that will help you in your current job. It's about making sure that if you do have a plan, think about skills to gain to take you on a further path as well. And as we said before, you don't have to be a coder to be successful in a career in tech. So make sure as well that you keep that in mind. So when you do actually get invited for an interview as well, so going through all those CVs, going through transferable skills, thinking where you want to be. Again, some obvious things, but not necessarily things that people are doing when they're coming for interviews. So make sure that you research the company, and it's not only about going on the website and knowing when it's been funded, etc. It's about reading the blogs, news stories. It's making sure that you actually get immersed into the culture of the company and really know what they're doing. Because, you know, as much as it's a decision from the company's point of view, whether to give you the job or not, it's your decision as well. You might end up thinking that the company isn't for you. Make sure that you practice for the interview. So, you know, all those great transferable skills and experiences that you shared on your CV, make sure that you've got examples when people are going to be asking you questions about leadership skills, for example, communication, etc. It's very important to make sure that you try to match the experiences and the example as closely as you can to the job description as well. Highlight the qualifications that are relevant for the job. So again, make sure that the interviewer has the right picture and basically knows that you do have the skills to do the job. Focus on what you can bring to the role rather than what the role can give to you, especially when someone's asking you the question, why you, or why this job as well. It's important to sell yourself basically during the interview. That's when you kind of captivate your interviewer. And prepare some good killer questions at the end. Things like, you know, why, for example, the interviewers are working for the company. And it's a great opportunity as well at the very end of the interview to ask if there's any concerns that the interviewer might have about your potential application, anything that you didn't answer, anything that they might be missing that you would like to, or you can obviously address at the end of the interview. Again, another opportunity for you to sell yourself at the very, very end and leave a very good lasting impression. So that's it in a very, very short time. We're here as well at CRISP. We're very more than happy to help guide people through the career choices, even if it is not at CRISP. So if anyone would like to reach out, we're here to help as well with any tips. Well, are there any questions? I'm not sure if there are any questions in the chat panel. I can't actually see the chat panel, sorry. So I'm not sure if anyone has got it.
There's a couple in the chat panel, yeah.
Yeah, there are a few questions.
Awesome.
Why CRISP? I can answer the first one then.
Awesome.
I think, as I mentioned before, CRISP has everything I was looking for in my next role. It's a forward-thinking organization, uses the latest technology, has opportunities for personal development, and encourages people to strive for the best. And I think that's what I love about CRISP. Technology always inspired me, and I never get bored of it. For me, career in tech is fulfilling and fascinating. I think nowadays more and more children are using online platform, and so it's important more than ever to keep them safe. Being a mother myself makes me realize that even more, and working for CRISP gives the opportunity to really make a difference.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'll take the next one. It was how did you make the decisions to move into different roles, and why those choices? I think same as Renata, kind of covered off a little bit in my intro, but I really enjoy roles that combine working with people, working with technology, and if there's travel involved, then that's a bonus. I've always been excited about how technology can solve problems, and whether that's selling frozen dog food via e-commerce websites, or marketing coffee machines, which are some of the projects that I did in my old roles, or protecting people from bullying trolls and the other great work we do at CRISP. I kind of enjoy all aspects of kind of working with people to understand those problems and figure out how we can solve them. And I really enjoyed the variety of creative digital marketing projects that I got to work on in my previous roles, but ultimately the thing that really brought me to CRISP was the core values around online safety and just feeling like I was making a positive contribution with my career. And that was the big point for me that made me want to work with CRISP. So yeah.
Awesome. Brilliant.
Well,
Awesome. Any more?
I think there's just one more. It says, what made you choose a career in tech? And I just think it's just like, it's the most progressive field in the world, I suppose. It's like, it's almost like the new physics or something. I think in the past, like the boundaries of what humans could do was like studying physics, and now it's pretty much what we can make computers do, you know, how we can supercharge intelligence with the power of circuits and stuff. So I think if you want to be pushing the boundaries of what's possible and solving the hardest problems in the world, then tech's the place to be.
Awesome. Definitely true. Definitely true. Brilliant. If there isn't any more questions, thank you very much for attending. Thank you to everyone that's going to see the recording as well. As I said, at CRISP, if you want to reach out, if you want to ask any more questions, if you want any more tips about the career, about the movements, about your choices, please reach out, get in touch, either on our website or through our careers page as well. We're looking forward to seeing everyone and meeting everyone during the career paths as well. Thank you very much for listening.